I just saw a meme that said I grew up with an amazing dad, and it led me to believe that men were actually good.
My dad was a senior in high school when I was born. Present and active since day one. If there were teacher-parent conferences, if there was a play I was in, if it was a dance I was doing, he was there. If I was sick, he took care of me. He rubbed my feet. He made me soup. He clipped my toenails. He was there. He went to my principal on multiple occasions and said, give her the hardest classes. Whatever your hardest classes are, she needs it. She needs to be challenged. My freshman year of high school, I had a friend. She called me on the house phone. This was before cell phones and social media. She called me, said she wanted to harm herself, and my dad stepped in. I got him involved immediately. Now, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. My dad was born on the west side. He does not play. He's a man's man. So if my friend would have told me where she lived, he would have showed up and showed out and probably got locked up. But she never told me where she lived. However, 20 years later, she would come back to my dad's house and introduce him to her children and say, thank you. I appreciate you. My time, my body, my attention, it's a privilege. My dad taught me that. I shouldn't be giving it away to anybody. He told me when I was like 14, you're a wife. I'm raising you to be a wife. You're not a girlfriend. Even before I knew what the word said about a wife and being favored, my dad taught me that. Flowers for no reason. I would come home, there would be rose petals once I opened the door to enter the house, rose petals on the floor, trailing all the way up to my bedroom. Fast forward to now at my big age, heartbreak, promotion, just because it's Wednesday, flowers for no reason. The man just loves me out loud. He doesn't care who's around. He doesn't care if he looks like a fool. He will serenade me. He will tell me how much he loves me, no matter who's around. He will look like a fool just to show me, his daughter, that he loves me that much. Just a few weeks ago for my surgery, he showed up at 5 a.m., sat beside me, held my hand, and prayed with me. So imagine my surprise. I'm an adult in my 20s with my own place and crib, and I'm getting asked out, hey, can I get your number, whatever.
Right.
And I'm thinking this man is going to be the example that I've had my whole life, and that was furthest from the case. And then I thought, well, maybe it's the age, because I was in my 20s. Maybe it's the age. As I get older, it'll get better. That's also false. That's also false. So to the men like my dad, my brothers, cousins, uncles, and my friends, thank God for you guys. Thank God for the good men. But all men are not like you guys. All men are not like you.
So we have a woman who's been struggling dating because she's in the dating market, and what she's experienced with having a father in her life, which is an amazing thing. And from hearing her talk about her experience, the influence of having a present father who loves her, who's taken care of her, who showed her what it's like to have a man in your life, that masculine energy that you appreciate. She's enjoyed that, still does. That's a beautiful thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that experience at all. And what I'm about to say here does not take away from the benefits of that, right? Fathers instill confidence. A mother's love is just this almost irrational love. Fathers are a little bit different, right? Their love comes with this sense of validation, which is why sons usually want to hear, and also daughters want to hear their father say things like, I'm proud of you. Your husband is not your father. Your husband and the men who you run into will not make a fool out of themselves for you. And to think that you're going to get the equivalent to the type of fatherly love that a man will give his daughter is just a little bit unrealistic. Just a little bit unrealistic. Now, I'm being cool with this woman who just spoke. But the first chick, this one, the most delusional out of the bunch, this one.
I just saw a meme that said I grew up with an amazing dad, and it led me to believe that men were actually good.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
What type of statement is that? So, based on your statement, you're saying men aren't good. Or she might be saying she thought instead of some men are good, she believed all men were good. But the way this comes off is, oh, men aren't good and only my father was that good man. What do you guys think? Let's look at this caption. It says, reverse daddy issues. When you grew up with an amazing dad, so you think all men are good. Okay, there she goes. She clarified it. But it really didn't come off that way when she first presented it.
And I'm so stuck on this.
Right.
Because same. My father is and was an incredible dad. He was an all-in dad. I'm the oldest of 10. And it doesn't mean that I didn't butt heads with my dad. But like when I say like our hobbies became his hobbies. He was always looking for ways to spend time with us. Anything we needed help on, he was there. And he's an incredible husband. Last Christmas, he doesn't play piano. He learned how to play piano so he could learn how to play La Vie en Rose, which is him and my mom's favorite song, for her. He doesn't sing either. So not only does he sit down to play this song that he learned specifically for her, he starts singing it. He also got into memorizing poetry in the last 2 years to keep his brain fresh. So he'll occasionally just memorize poems that absolutely bring my mother or us to tears. And he knows they will. He selects them because he knows how powerful they are. And he loves to get a reaction out of us, especially when we're like crying because it's beautiful. And this is just like the tip of the iceberg, okay? He's been there for us 110%. And when I see how he treats my mother like a queen, how they are partners and everything, my standards are... Which to say is I never really think about that when I think about why maybe as someone who didn't start dating until their 30s, it was intimidating. Like that being a reason that dating was intimidating because the bar is here. And my mother always likes to say you can't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 50. Like mayhaps, my father had to learn how to be an amazing husband and an amazing father.
That's an amazing point. That's an amazing point right there. You're seeing the progression of a marriage that's gotten better over time.
But it taught me that amazing men exist.
Right.
I just didn't know where to find them. I'm so stuck on that thought now.
I think it's part of what everybody's dealing with in today's society. You look around, if you come from a family that was healthy, you had a present father, and a family that has a 2-parent household and they're still married. Well, you're entering a dating market that's effed up. That's just the plain truth. And everybody's experiencing this. The men who you're dealing with, they aren't coming from, in a lot of cases, from healthy experiences. They're coming from probably broken homes. They're coming from maybe situations where they were raised without a strong influence of a father. All that should be taken into consideration. And the problem with that is not only is it harder, but it takes more work to make a relationship better, because in the past, people listened. Men would listen to their fathers because their fathers were there and they weren't getting ripped away by courts. And divorce, which is initiated by modern women, 70%, I know. You just had to say, didn't you? I did. And women weren't raging, radical feminists who weren't difficult when it came to marriage. They were raised to be wives, and it was easier. And they had more shared values where they saw eye to eye. Now, not so much. And I could only imagine when you go into this dating world, you're dealing with people, women who aren't wives, and young men, and even some of the older men, who are raised up horribly by either a lack of parenting or not having a good father figure in their life.
I wonder if these moms ever sit back and think like, damn, I raised a... Like, do you, Miss Tanya, do you ever sit back and think like, man, my son really ain't shit? Or is it the delusion really just real? Are you gaslighting me? Or are you really so caught up in the delusion, right? I'm really curious about this. Like, do moms ever recognize that they son ain't it? Like, you did this, man. This is your son. You can't even see that? Maybe it's another form of mom guilt or something. Like, if I acknowledge that he a little thrown off, that means maybe I was a little thrown off. I don't know what it is, but for me, accountability is so important in any of my relationships. And just as a parent, like, I know that I want my children to be the best that they can possibly be. I don't believe in this whole ride or die mentality and I'm your family, so I'm going to hold you down. No, I want you to hold me to a higher standard than what I had. So that way I can continue to build the person who I want to be. When you have this type of like relationship with people, wow, it don't matter because I'm right with you anyway. How did this person learn? How did this person grow? And then you got a whole web of people and family members who just aid and abet and enable. Like, it's just unbelievable. It's a web of narcissistic family members. And then here I go, hi, hello. It's like, girl, what's wrong with you? Like, no, what's wrong with y'all? This is inherently wrong. I really don't understand it. So like, y'all playing a trick on me, or do you really believe that shit? Truly, I'm curious to know what y'all think. Like, y'all can hold a secret. Y'all can hold a lie. Y'all can hold the mess. We messy. We keeping this over here because it's about the family. Y'all can hold that shit, but y'all can't hold each other accountable. How that even make sense? Like, where does the math start mathing? And at what age and at what point, Miss Tanya? What are we doing?
So she's frustrated about mothers, sounds like single mothers, because she didn't mention a father, who can't hold their sons accountable. That's not their expertise. That's not their expertise. That's not their expertise in their lives, let alone their sons. Women love their sons, love their sons. They need discipline. They need accountability. They can't give them that in a lot of cases to the degree that they need it to develop into a respectable, disciplined man. I remember hearing a video that talked about dads are a lot better at letting their children suffer. And I really do believe that's definitely the case.
Man, I grew up with a shitty mom, so that led me to believe that, all women were going to be shitty when I got older. See how that works, right? Or what about the guys who y'all complain about, who get on here and talk about how y'all are not the women that their mothers are? Because they grew up with a great mother who spoiled them, who cooked for them, who cleaned behind them, who picked up behind them, who did all the things that a good mother's supposed to do that y'all turn y'all nose up at, right? A mother that didn't play about him, emotionally provided for him, protected his feelings, didn't belittle him. All the things that men get on here and say that their mothers are so great for, that y'all say, oh, I'm not going to do that because I'm not your mama. It's funny how y'all get on here with this trend about, I had a great father, so I thought, men, when I dated, were going to treat me like my daddy. And it led me to believe that all men were going to be good. And then when I got out here, I realized men ain't shit. But that's because you're not fucking your daddy. Your daddy provides you unconditional love, unconditional providing, nurturing things, because that's your daddy. You know what I'm saying? The same about a mother. That's your mother, not your girl. Romantic relationships are risk. Romantic relationships are give and take. Romantic relationships require both people to put in, whereas your daddy or your mama are supposed to just do. Two completely different relationship dynamics. And that be y'all problem, is because y'all compare men to y'all daddies. Your daddy just had to do. You didn't have to reciprocate that shit to your fucking daddy. He owed that to you. You are his obligation because he chose to have you. That man that asked for your number has no obligations to you. Your daddy ain't the one laying down with you at night. Your daddy ain't the one that got to sit here and talk to you and communicate with you and go back and forth with you and all the intricacies that come in a romantic relationship. Your daddy don't do that. And he don't know that side of you. Just like you don't know that side of your daddy. You don't know your daddy as a woman who got to be with your daddy. You know your daddy as your daddy. I say it all the time. Stop comparing how your mother or your daddy treat you and use it as a foundation, but that's not how strangers who are supposed to be with you romantically are supposed to come in and do for you, because they're not your parents. And when it comes to romantic relationships, you are a factor too. It's just weird to me how y'all look at the way y'all daddies treat y'all as a positive when we look and cast that out as how the men treat y'all. But then when men use their mothers and to cast that out as how y'all treat men, oh, he a mama's boy. He coddled. He spoiled. I'm not your mama. Oh, crazy, right? And it makes sense why it coincides with the rhetoric that we get from y'all on this app all the time about men, because a lot of y'all want daddies. Y'all don't want boyfriends or husbands.
Listen, as always, guys, I appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. And to my engaged and soon-to-be married men, don't forget to capitalize on the limited opportunity to get the #1 guide to drafting a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement with offer code REVIEW at fathershaverights.com. And join Brew Brothers to my men who are fathers and married. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.